I think we're live. Are we live?
You gotta turn your mic on, sweetheart.
I had to turn it on in 4 different places.
Wow, That's really rough.
It really is.
Sometimes I feel like I have it bad enough just having to turn it on in one place, but one of these days I think you should show us what your back end setup really looks like.
I'm using 3 screens at the moment. This works well.
3?
I have 3, yes.
Wait, did you have 3 before? I thought you just had 2.
I had 2. I've had a travel screen for a while, and I've only
Oh,
used
that's what
it
it is.
traveling, and so I'm like, I could use my travel screen just for the streaming software. And so I don't have to, like, because like I'm often having to move things on my screens.
Mm-hmm.
So if I put that one down here on my travel screen, I just don't have to worry about it. But then trying to
Wow.
get my mouse all the way over there is the problem.
I sent out some reminders that we were on here because people might be a little discombobulated that we're 7 and not 8.
Ah, yes. It's also a
Yep.
holiday week, here in the
Yep.
US, so things are always a little discombobulated.
hmm So yes, I did post us in our groups and Instagram just to remind some people if they're not, because I know sometimes Facebook's kind of a jerk about getting your notifications to you like in a timely manner.
Yeah, I
So
feel like Twitch is pretty good about that. I feel like I haven't had any problems with Twitch doing notifications lately, but yeah, YouTube's a little
I have had
persnickety.
problems with Twitch doing notifications. I never get notifications that you're live, ever. I
Well,
just,
the fact that you're not following me could have something to do with that, but
I am. I'm a subscriber.
I'm teasing you.
Don't you try to make it sound like I'm not. Um, yeah, I don't get notifications that you and I know it's got to be I know I have them turned on because I get them for other people that I follow on Twitch.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just have a problem with these platforms not delivering consistently on their product. And that's how I feel about that.
Indeed.
So, while we're getting going here, how does it feel to be done with books?
It was weird today. Well, actually, yesterday, after I finished my stream yesterday, I thought, ooh, tomorrow's Tuesday. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to read anything. So it's a little bit of a relief, but also, I always like to have a book going. And I
Mhm.
finished reading Lady of Godies yesterday on my own stream. We
Oh,
finally, it feels like it's been forever. It took me forever to
it
read that book.
has.
It was a wonderful book, though. It was such a good book.
No, you
And
just kept
so,
having other like juicy things come up.
yeah. And then I split some of the chapters in half because they were kind of long. But yeah, like I don't, other than a book that I have been plowing through like one page at a time before I fall asleep every night, I don't have any
Oh yeah,
like,
plowing through. You're
yeah.
like a book I've been walking backwards through.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is, remember when we went to Pennsylvania? What was that like? At least a month and a half ago or something. It was
I
like
was gonna say which time.
the last time we went. I know it was definitely October. Um, I'm trying to think when it was when we went and stayed.
Yeah, at the murder house.
The murder house. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was actually about a chapter into this particular book then. So,
Oh,
and I have made no headway whatsoever. I think I'm on chapter 2 now. So anyway, I kind of feel a little I don't know, not naked necessarily, but not to have a book that's like
well, it was weird. So like Sunday and I had to go to a friend's house today for like a little kind of just holiday gathering. And when we got back, he's like, "Okay, I'll leave you to your reading." And I was like, "I'm
I
not
have no reading.
Yeah, we're all done with books this year." I'm like, "No, there's no reading to do." I have to say, obviously I could just keep reading whatever. But I am enjoying the break.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after a big book. It's a big book. And
Yeah, to honor and comfort was pretty long, so it is nice to kind of
yeah.
have a.
And we accomplished a lot this year,
Yeah, we
considering
did.
we had no like real formal plans since we were supposed to be, temporary.
Yeah.
Um, and we just kept plowing through. How many did I say we did? 10? Did I say, I think
Yes.
I think 10. Yeah.
You said 10. I have not. confirmed that yet because
Um,
I'm making a little piece of media for us. But yeah, as I was going through all of our videos and even back into our when we were doing trying to do Instagram live, I was like, wow, we've streamed a lot. We've done a lot of things, you know, besides
we
the books, needlework nights.
our last video was our 100th video on YouTube.
What? Are you serious? Oh my gosh. I haven't paid attention to stuff like that necessarily, like our stats and stuff. I know you pay attention to that. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
insane. I can't believe we reached that. That was so fast. And we haven't, considering the fact that we don't like, and that's including some of the shorter media too. But
Hmm.
considering that like we generally don't stream on like a consistent 2 days a week basis, it's not easy to get up to 100 videos.
No, it's not. Hey,
Hi Janet.
Janet.
You're packing for New York City and England. Wow.
Oh,
I feel like you're a busy gal.
yeah. Traveling again. We'll live
Mhm.
vicariously.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
so but you know something, given that we have the rest of this month, which obviously, yes, it's like 4 days. And then we have all of December. I'm excited to do some other things. I'm excited,
yeah,
like
I am.
we've been sitting on this backlog. Retirement will do that to you. That's true. My girlfriends that are older and in that phase of retirement, they are just running all over the place. But the best thing about having those friends is I can call them up and be like, "Hey, let's go to Pennsylvania." And they're like, "I'll meet you there tomorrow." And that's awesome because normally friends of mine that would be my age at this point in their life, they might have kids that are on the younger side and can't necessarily pick up and go. And I love those friends that are just like, "Yeah, adventure, woo!" You know?
There's
Um,
friends who just don't care about anybody else in their lives. I'm kidding.
Well, when you can just pick up and go, it's fun. So with that topic in mind, we literally put we dotted the I's and crossed the T's on our December schedule. 5 minutes before we launched this is when Stephanie looked at it for me. Because for the most part, it's a we discuss, and then I go in and make a preemptive, and then she gives the okay, or we move some things around. So let me show that to you. And here is what our December, welcome to my Canvas screen. Here is what our December is looking like. So because we aren't doing any book club nights, we're gonna do our streams at 7 just because it's a little easier if things run overtime, which, if we're looking at exhibits or, looking deep dive into quilts and things, so it can easily run overboard. The 24th, because we will likely have plans with family or friends, we decided we're going to record a video to release that day for people that maybe don't have a lot of things going on. So you'll be able to watch that at any point during the
Or if
few
you do
holiday
have
days.
things going on and you want to just like block it all out, you can watch
That's
us.
true. That's true.
I might watch us.
Instead of being like the guys that hide out at the party to watch like some football game, you can be the one hiding out
Watching
to
some
watch.
quilt nerding.
Yes.
I love that.
And
Everybody's going to want to crowd around you and your device.
yep. Just like that episode of Friends with the funeral and all the guys are
I
watching and
just saw
waiting.
that one the other day.
Yep. I also put on a little reminder here since we've talked about it before. The 7th is the Arizona Quilt Study Day virtual event that we have been mentioning to you recently. And I'm mentioning it again because their last day to sign up for that is on the 2nd. And it's a good thing that I looked because I haven't signed up for it yet. And I need to. So they're
Yeah.
doing two
Unfortunately, I won't
lectures.
be at that one, but
Yeah, you did that on purpose. Um, well, I will be at it. So
and at this time is it Lena who's going to be
it's
lecturing?
Lena and you know what? You know
I
what?
I'm completely blanking.
Arizona Quilt Study Group. This is easily remediable.
Oh, it's Joanna. isn't it? It's Joanna and Lena.
Yeah. 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 Yep. Quilting as to war. And then Lena is doing, is that what?
The yes, girlhood sewing.
Quilts by Young Hands. hmm So yeah, they do two lectures and a break. It's very affordable. Yes,
Yeah,
let's
it's
see.
like
They start at 9:50 and
mhm.
it's a different time zone, so make sure that you pay attention to time zones. Um
Yeah, just a heads up though, if for whatever reason you're not available that day, be careful signing up for it because they don't do the replay like a lot of
yes, they do not record.
yeah.
Um they do Q&A. I was just looking. Sometimes they do a giveaway, but it doesn't look like they're doing
Yeah,
one
I
of
was gonna
them.
say they do sometimes do like a door prize giveaway kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, last day to register is Monday the 2nd, and it's $35. That's really reasonable for two lectures.
Yeah.
Hi Jen. Um, so yeah, you definitely
Hey, Jen.
want to
Yeah, and
attend
I
that.
can say I have actually just recently heard Lena lecture, and she's a wonderful lecturer. And we know Joanna. We were actually on a committee with her with AQSG, and she's I haven't heard her lecture, but she's a very nice person. So
Mhm.
I would say
Mhm.
she's probably got some really juicy information there. So
And then also on here, we are not planning to do a Needlework Nights scheduled event this month. There could be kind of like some pop-up stuff that happens. We're playing December a little fast and loose, just in case we feel like doing something else. I'm not opposed to a pop-up here or there if I get a wild hair. But in terms of scheduled things, the reason we're not doing Needlework Nights is because we have added in two stitching days where we're gonna turn on the camera like we did. We had been calling it Stitch and Brush, but it's been suggested to call it Stitch and Glitch.
yes, because we are online, anything can happen, as you guys know. And ironically, over on Twitch, which is where you guys may know where I do my stream, there is a little character called Glitch. And
Mhm.
I think he's supposed to represent like when you're having technical difficulties. So we have just enough of that around here that we thought it would be funny. So Stitch and Glitch it is.
Yeah, so we've scheduled that for 2 Saturdays this month. We're just gonna be stitching stuff, look, turning on the camera and yakking. We did one recently, what, like a week ago?
Yeah, was
I
it?
think about a week ago. Yeah, so if you wanted to
Yeah.
see what that is, it's you can click on that replay. We ended up here for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
Just
it went by really fast, and I was like,
it did.
oh,
Yeah,
three,
and
3 hours.
what yeah, one of the reasons to do a couple this month is Steph and I both remarked later on in the day, like, wow, that really filled my cup. When you're feeling kind of stressed out or bummed, or I don't know if any of you suffer from like seasonal affective disorder, but I definitely don't do well with the shorter daylight day.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't do
yeah.
well at all. So I noticed that afterwards I was in a progressively better mood.
Yeah, it was good because it was nice to get a little bit of stitching done, productivity, but
Mhm.
also, sometimes stitching by yourself, I mean, it's great. I love it, but it's sometimes fun to stitch with other people and, it just
And
makes it a
and we
richer
got
experience.
we got a couple little demonstrations from you with some vintage sewing tools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, sometimes, or, sometimes we find like little, like, Steph and I have been looking at like some, lace making reels lately. They're not long,
Gosh.
but like, I'm thinking like that's a nice place to be like, look at these couple of reels that I found of like this, like, we're talking about old lace making ways and pillows and things like that. And it's one of the times I enjoy the fact that my phone is listening to me because then my social media has a ton of stuff we were just talking about in it. Anywho, that's where that stuff belongs and where we talk about it. So if you need a little extra oomph, especially in these days right after Christmas where it's like this weird alternate universe before we hit New Year's Eve. I don't know about you. I feel really weird in the few days after Christmas before New Year's. And
Yeah,
you need
it's,
a
yeah.
little we will be here, with stuff to do.
We'll be
So,
here being weird and sharing that with you.
yes. Also somewhere in here on something, we were maybe going to do a little like quilt study. So if there's anything you got that you want to look at on the screen with the peeps, you let us know. And with that being said, let
Let's
me
get
get,
to it because I get to sit back today and just ooh and ah over what you've got to show.
yeah, such a working hard all the time, right? So, what we got going on here, this is an exhibit. It is no longer up at New England Quilt Museum. I took pictures of this in October before we left for Pennsylvania, I believe. Um, and it's the Electric Needle, 160 Years of Innovation in Quilting Arts. And normally, when I'm sharing exhibits with you all online, I often don't take pictures of the entire exhibit if it's a traveling exhibit, because major reason is if you have the opportunity to see it at another quilt museum near you, I want you to still go and show patronage to whatever museum it is. And I still want you to have something to look forward to, which of course, looking at the stuff on here can never compare to looking at it in person. This is definitely a second best situation. But anywho, the times when I will take photos of an entire exhibit is when the museum is the one that is sponsoring owning the exhibit. So example, when we have our gallery that's mostly permanent collection quilts. I'll do those, that whole exhibit. And this one was curated by our curator, Pam Weeks, and the past NEQM curator, Anita Lascalzo. So we've got a lot to look at.
I
Now,
can.
the one thing that you're going to do, Stephanie, is you're going to read our little thing here. Do you want me to blow it up a little bit?
Yeah, can you? Am I reading this whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's 160 years of innovation in quilting arts. Visible machine quilting was first done in linear patterns for most of the 40 years following the invention of the sewing machine in the mid 19th century. Simple machine quilting was revived in the early 1970s, but it was not until the 1980s the more complex free motion techniques were popularized with the concurrent advances in machine technology. In 1989, the American Quilter Society awarded Carol Breyer Fowler Gentry Best in Show for Corona 2 Solar Eclipse. It was very controversial at the time. I was about to say that because it was the first machine pieced and machine quilted work to win any major award. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
1989. I was in high school. In 2004, the New England Quilt Museum presented the groundbreaking exhibition Free Motion Masterpieces, curated by Gerald Roy and Anita Liscalzo, which included 33 machine quilted quilts made from 1870 to 2003. The taboo on submitting machine quilted quilts to quilt shows had only recently been abandoned, but a majority of quilting was still sewn by hand. Today, the vast majority of quilting is done using machine, either by the artist who makes the top or by another artist. These masterworks and these masterworks equal those quilted by hand for their artistic beauty and complexity of design. The electric needle features 47 of the best of today's machine quilted examples, including modern art and traditional quilts, as well as examples from the past. And this one that they have here, I don't know if this is a new quilt or an old quilt, but wow. That's really beautiful.
And
What
keep in
the
mind,
shape
this
to
is a
that.
photo on a print.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how that looks. It's a fantastic exhibit. Some of these time span exhibits that Pam and people like Anita do together are phenomenal. I There's another one that we showed a while ago. Now I'm forgetting the name of it. I'll have to look it up. There was another time span that Pam had done, and it that was in a series of shows that she's done. I think I've seen two of them, and she said, she always thinks she's done, and then realizes like, no, I've got more to look at here. So this was I couldn't leave without this. Now, one thing to remember is that I am not manipulating the light. The light is the museum light, except for places where things might be really dark, but in general, you're getting the actual museum light. So this was right on the stairs as you first walk up next to the exhibit statement there. So you walk up the stairs and you turn, and this is the first thing that you see, which
Wow.
is, yeah, I do have close-ups, don't worry. But we've got words. She has quilted
Oh.
words into this. Like this is buds, and then we have what is that? Wilt? Does that say wilt? Let's see. It's so the quilt is so big that I couldn't get a close up of all the words.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Rose, ye, gather, go. What was up?
Gather ye. That's from
Ye,
like a poem or
nay.
something. Gather. Is it gather ye rosebuds? Maybe somebody out there knows. I
Gather
do. I do
ye
recognize
rose,
those words though. Yeah, it's gather ye rosebuds something.
with ye may go. I'm just not sure which word's supposed to be first.
Yeah,
But yeah, like
that is sensational. And that's trapunto, or is that just the quilting is so dense that it causes those areas to pop?
let me see what do we got here. So 1992, cotton machine piece appliqued and embroidered, machine quilted with trapunto. Deborah Wagner, which was designed master quilter by the National Quilters Association. She's won many national awards. I am a traditionalist in design, if not in technique. My main interest is developing machine methods for traditional quilt making. My favorite quilts have challenging piecing or applique with lots of quilting and trapunto.
Very nice.
Oh, it's just like I don't even know how to describe this. And I wish sometimes, I know it's an annoying question, but I really wish that on occasion when something is this involved, that they post an estimate of how many hours they think it took. Because even this little like the stippling quilting on top of all this other stuff, like that alone.
It amazes me, I when I look at like something like this that's been hand quilted, you think about the longevity, just how long it took somebody to do that, the physical aspects of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it is that way with long arming as well.
Hmm.
And the piece about long arming I just do not get is how they do this intricate stuff. I have done some long arming, and I kind of developed my own style just because I could not do stuff like this. Um,
Hmm.
and I realize it takes the time and energy to practice to get this, but I just, it blows me away when I see things like this, because it's like, how do you get a straight line? How do you get like that intricate around letters, and words and stuff? Like, oh, it's
Well,
just,
just the planning for me and making
yeah.
sure that you're keeping things what's the word balanced
Mm-hmm.
between, one point to another. Like the amount of planning you would have to do just to make sure that all of this fits the way it's supposed to fit.
Mm-hmm.
Or doing trapunto lettering,
Yeah, this is
you
really, really
know,
fantastic.
or even like how hard is it to do these when you see ones that look like bananas or what's the other word people call them when they make them really fat?
What, the
Excuse me.
feathers? Oh, I don't know that
Yeah.
I've ever heard anything disparaging about feathers.
Yeah, I've heard. Well, when they're really long, often people like their feathers ended up a little banana-y.
Oh, okay, I've never heard that one before. That's funny.
There's another word. I like this. I don't know what kind of like leaf this is supposed to be over here, but I really like how that came out. I don't know that I
Hmm.
see that kind of especially in a trapunto fashion. Like that's very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if some of this is stuffed applique as well, because I feel like her applique
I
seems like
believe she said,
it's
I
popping a
believe
little
she
bit.
said, yeah,
Yeah.
it does look a little on the puffy side.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I had to get more of those leaves because I'm like, they're so
Oh,
interesting.
and she's got prairie points around the edges.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, what could make this a little more difficult?
And if there's that little green stripe along the edge, that's piping, isn't it?
The piping. Yeah. Yeah.
She's pretty
Again,
much added every difficult aspect of
yeah,
quilting.
let me go back here to the original. Yeah. Look at that thing.
It's really beautiful.
Yep. Half of me is like, I could never, I don't know that I could ever put it on a bed, although I'm sure it actually looks gorgeous on a bed.
Hmm.
Excuse me while I'm part camel this time of year because it's just so dry. Alrighty, so this
Ooh,
one, which was interesting because it clearly doesn't hang, square. It's a little bowie at the bottom here. But this is was extremely interesting. Um, so 1883, um, Jane Lavelle born 1854, Mother's Gift to Willie. Cotton hand and machine pieced, machine quilted.
that's a big deal during that day and age because they didn't have
Hmm.
walking feet or what do you call the free motion foot? They didn't have that stuff. We're talking about like hand cranks and treadle machines, and it's
They
amazing.
might, they might have had a free motion foot for the treadle. Mia would actually be the one to ask, but I'm not
Yeah, now that I say that, I feel
1883.
like maybe I have heard something about that,
Yeah,
but
they might have had.
it seems like
um,
it's not like it doesn't come with the machine. Like it's something I think that you had to get, right?
Yes,
But
I
it
don't
was
know that it was like often used, but I feel like it would, and it probably wouldn't have been a free motion foot. It would probably have been an embroidery foot
that's
when
what
I
I was
think
going to
about
say. It was
it.
probably something for darning.
Or that, yes, or that.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we've got Jane Lavelle assembled this early example of quilt as you go in sections with the back seams covered by binding strips. All of the quilting motifs, as well as Jane's dedication, Mother's Gift to Willie, in script on the bottom left-hand corner, were done using a treadle machine. They range from simple grid and outline patterns to a variety of floral
That
motifs.
is amazing to me that somebody did any kind of quilting on a treadle machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that one belongs to Julie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the best quilting in terms of winning contests and things like this, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is better than I'm going to do on the treadle machine.
Right?
Like,
And so is this a picture of the back?
no, this is the front.
Oh,
Yep, that's the front. No, wait,
no, that's the back because isn't
wait,
the
that's the
front
back.
those
Hold
bases?
on, hold on, hold on. Well, yeah, that's the back. Sorry.
You could definitely
Um,
see they are not all the same size, hence the reason why it doesn't hang straight.
I thought that the flowers were very
Yeah, that
interesting.
is
Like,
wild that I mean, so looking at this, it's got a very folk art look to it. I would say that's about my skill level with an actual long arm. So to achieve this with a treadle, this person was pretty amazing.
yeah, to do any of these flowers, because keep in mind, like you can't stop and take it out and move. Like you just got to keep going. Like, and you can see that like down here,
Hmm.
where you just got to keep you just got to turn and keep going back and to keep the like she kept these lines pretty straight for doing that kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Now
Um,
I do know some of the older machines. They did have things that like you could kind of measure seam, like so I could see there probably what may have been something that would have like a
mhm,
little like a ruler sort of thing or a little arm that would help you with that. But I mean, I go
mhm.
back to the fact like that's amazing to me.
And this I really like this piecing. Um, this is not This is not a pattern I have come about super often. Let's see if we like can turn it. So that's yeah. Like, and I don't know if would be considered kind of right side up to a but um I don't know like what would you call this? Like it's almost looks like a goblet.
Yeah, that's what I thought of it as kind of like a some sort of bowl, some sort of footed bowl.
Hmm. But it kind of gives some like courthouse steps kind of vibes in the way it's assembled. It's very interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, let me go. Yeah, I don't know. I love those flowers.
Yeah, they're really cool.
And then even to make these tiny lines, like to keep that somewhat consistent, like I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And what year was this? Was this
1883.
1883? Okay.
Mm-hmm. More of the more flowers. I think this was one of my favorite pieces.
Yeah, I like that one. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Isn't
This is
that
breathtaking.
right?
And so the background is it kind of like a what you call it? It's a grid, but is it like the little double lines, or I don't know if you have like maybe a closer picture of that.
Of course. But first, so it's cotton sateen, whole cloth, machine quilted. You can read some stuff.
Okay. So this is by Diane Godinsky, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Abundance, 2003. Incredibly small stitching in this quilt could only be accomplished by using a sewing machine. Diane called this new technique that she employed for the background Diane Diana Shiko. I guess it's supposed to be like Sashiko. To obtain the quality of depth, she used yellow thread in the outlines of the vase and flowers, pink thread in the echo quilting, and gray thread in the areas of stippling. Oh, okay. Designs featured in the quilt include the picture and feathers used in her quilt, Through a Glass Darkly, An American Memory, and other feather, leaf, and animal motifs. Note the rabbit, designed by Gina Kimball, to the left of Diane's initials, and the cat to their right.
Yeah,
Oh my
look at that
gosh.
stippling.
Oh my lord. So there's echo quilting and then there's stippling in there.
It is the tiniest stippling
Wow.
I have ever seen in my life. Wow, we can get pretty close here. That's not
Yeah, I
half
mean I'm
bad.
I'm looking at the weave of the sateen, which is
Mm-hmm.
blurring because it's so close. And look
Mm-hmm.
how tiny those stitches are.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, Jen says
Is
this is really beautiful. Yes, I concur. This is like just drop dead gorgeous.
let's see. No, I didn't get no one, but hold on, I will go back. 'Cause so let's see. She said, "Oh yeah, she's got was this like a kitty right here, and
Mm-hmm.
here's the initials,
Okay.
and then let's see. I think was this a bird right here?
Yeah, there's supposed to be a rabbit.
Yeah, she said something about a rabbit. Oh, here's a rabbit.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yep.
Kate said, I wonder if she never crossed stitches. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I see what she's done with the background. So that is sort of a sashiko kind of stitch. Um, and I can tell you with sashiko or sashiko, however you pronounce it, there is kind of like the steps of doing particularly that one because that's a pretty common one. There's an oddball steps. You'd think that it would be like, you just kind of do each one and then you move on to the next one. But there is like this cadence of how you handle a cluster of those things, those little
Mm-hmm.
shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if she kind of took that approach to it,
Hmm.
so that you end up not you do cross stitches, but you don't end up like going back over stitches. Is what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Wow.
Very interesting. Yeah, see, it told you we wouldn't be bored. Okay,
Wow.
look at this. It's just mm. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sorry, I got too excited. So Marla Yeager, Cosmos, Minnesota, buckskin, 2016, hand-dyed cherrywood cottons, machine pieced and quilted. In her quilt,
Cherrywood does some amazing stuff, by the way.
um, and I do
their dyed
not,
stuff is
yeah, I was gonna say I don't have any experience whatsoever with hand-dyed things, but
yeah.
I will say when I've been at shows, those vendors that have the hand-dyed cottons.
Cherrywood is often at, and I don't remember if I saw them this year, but Cherrywood is usually like a big booth at QuiltCon, and they'll do. They partner a lot of times with pattern makers who want to do like a either teaching or kitting things up. They'll pattern
Mhm.
and do custom dye jobs for different quilters and teachers and stuff.
Oh,
So they're amazing. I think they're really cool. So sorry to
oh.
interrupt.
No, no, no worries. In her quilt buckskin, Jaeger created a warm glow with her use of color. Fabrics include cherry wood ochre for background, cherry wood gradations, and a Ricky Timms hand-dyed cottons. I didn't know Ricky Timms did hand-dyed
No, I didn't
cottons.
know either.
Deciding on a theme is the first step for Marla in the quilt making process, and she started with a feathered star block with the addition of appliqued palm leaf blocks. When I first started
Okay.
quilting, the actual quilting process was my least favorite part of the process. Now I have learned just how much extensive quilting transforms the top. It is like the frosting on the cake and is now my favorite phase. Buckskin was started in 2003 and finished in the spring of 2006. All of my competition quilts are machine quilted by me on a domestic sit-down sewing machine.
Wow.
This style of quilting I learned from Harriet Hargrave and Diane, how did you say that? Gazinski?
Godinsky. Godinsky.
Godinsky.
Yeah.
Um, so we just saw her quilt. In 2007, Buckskin won the Bernina Workmanship Award at the American Quilter Society show in Paducah, Kentucky, and is now part of the permanent collection of the National Quilt Museum there. Her work has appeared in many publications and calendars, as well as on the covers of 3 quilt magazines. So, yeah, look at that. Sit down. Your sit
Wow. And so,
down
okay.
machine
Yeah. So she's done this work. Oh, and you know what? I see up there particularly on the right hand side of the red.
right
Looks like
here.
she's kind of, yeah, it looks like she's kind of doing that same thing that the last quilt
Mm-hmm.
did. But
Mm-hmm.
to do this on a domestic machine, holy cow.
Yep. So this is the dyeing, right?
Yeah.
We're
So
not
that is
looking at
some
something
type
that's
of,
all pieced.
yeah, that's some type of like gradation or,
Okay. Yeah, because
yeah.
it's really just 4 triangles, right? It's not smaller pieces put together.
Correct. Yeah. That would
Yes.
be
Okay.
like the hand dyed gradations or like
Hmm.
not ice dyeing, but how they get like the different, like how that one that's got like the purple, red, and yellow, how it kind of bleeds
Hmm.
together. Yeah.
Hmm. See what I'll say. Yeah, like I just this I loved the stitching that she did here
Oh, is that
on
a
this
metallic?
abdomen.
Is it like metallic thread? It kind of looks like it's got a little bit of sheen sparkle to it.
Might be.
It could be rayon, but I feel like maybe it's metallic with the way it kind of
Mhm.
shimmers there in the picture, like a gunmetal kind of.
Yeah, there's just so many
Oh, look,
different
there's
elements.
acorns and leaves.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep, so many different elements. I love this oak leaf. And then all of that starting from a feathered star.
Yeah, feathered star is a it's a challenging one
Look
to
at
in my
that.
opinion. Yeah. That's a very I think feathered stars are intricate because they've got, those little
Hmm.
tiny little half square triangles and you're
Well, and
usually
it's so easy for your machine to eat them if you're
yeah,
using.
yeah. And you have to be, I guess you have to have like be thoughtful about, your background because you're going to use your background in those. Um I really love this, really utilizing the hand dyed fabric for, I guess those are sections in the hand dyed fabric that kind of have that linear effect.
Hmm.
And she's capitalized on that,
Hmm.
to make the shape of the star really prominent. Very
Yeah,
cool.
and more leaves. And then here's this one. Oh, I guess I didn't go all the way down on that one. Let's see. Do I have? No. Boop. And then the border is also,
Yeah, it's like she's got getting some kind of gradation going on with the border too.
yeah. And then the quilting in there. Like this whole big thing on her domestic.
That's wild. And that's just wrestling, just a medium sized quilt. I think the biggest quilt I've ever done on a domestic machine is like a twin size
Hmm.
quilt. Um, it's hard. And so that I did like I think I did it was basically straight lines and then I did a spiral. And concentric circles are difficult. But it takes a lot of upper body strength to wrestle a quilt of any size through a domestic machine.
Well, and
It,
then what we
but
were
to get
talking about
this,
before. Well, and the planning, like I feel like, at least when you're on a long arm, the whole thing is in front of
yeah,
you, stretched
exactly.
out. Like to keep all of this spacing consistent,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
to
because
get all
you have to
this,
roll it up. It has to be
yeah,
rolled pretty tightly, depending on how the depth of the throat on
your
your
throat.
machine. Yeah, you have to
Hmm.
roll it up pretty tightly, and yeah, that's not
Yeah.
easy. It's pretty difficult
But
to
yeah,
do.
I wanted to come back to this just so we could see kind
Hmm.
of what these other stars are doing with that hand-dyed fabric. It's almost like compared to the background and the rest of the quilt, it's almost like it makes them kind of almost look jeweled in a way
Hmm.
because of the brightness of it. Ugh, it's just some really talented people out there.
Darn these people and their talents, making me all googly eyed.
This
Okay.
one is really gorgeous in its simplicity. Um, because of, don't worry, we'll get there to the quilting. But yeah, it's a gorgeous simplicity. This one's yours.
Okay. Jinzenji Yoshiko, Kyoto, Japan. Bamboo white, 1997. Hand woven silk, silk thread dyed with bamboo stalks, machine quilted. Okay, we know that applicated quilted. Yoshiko employed intricate machine quilting and construction techniques in a quilt that first appears to be so simple. She appliqued pieced strips over each seam and bound the quilt with cording from front to back with additional pieces applied on the back of the binding. A calm beauty flows from bamboo white. For Yoshiko Zenji. White suggests the Fusuma and Shoji sliding doors used to separate Japanese style rooms. So those are those paper covered like things,
Hmm.
right? Um, the traditions of Sumi ink drawings and the white sand of Zen gardens. She notes that white was the one natural dye that no one knew how to obtain. She set out to experiment with the plants, roots, and trees around her studio in Bali, finally settling upon bamboo. When hung out to dry in the sun, silk fabric dyed with bamboo transforms from a dull light brown to a seashell white. Interesting. Yoshiko explains her dyeing process in detail in the book Quilt Artistry. Interesting. Because I would
Hmm.
never have thought of dyeing something white. White to me is the absence of color, but then I'm thinking about cotton and wool,
Hmm.
and I mean, those things are bleached.
Hmm.
Oh,
Would you have imagined there was all of that going on from far away?
no. Wow. And oh my gosh, working on something that's color on color. I didn't mention this with that other whole cloth quilt, but piecing and quilting on, something that's the same color. Um there's a separate challenge. it's
Hmm. Hmm.
well, it's a little bit easier with white and light colored things, but yeah, that's still a big challenge.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I took another picture just because the light was kind of, making the fabric darker and it's much
Yeah.
whiter.
I really love how she's broken up, just the lines with that little chevron, and then you realize then that one strip through there is pieced. They're half square
Hmm.
triangles. Are they half square
Hmm.
triangles?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't I don't possess even a minute amount of artistic ability compared to these people.
Well, I mean, this is
Whew.
just good design in all of these so far, and also the ability to execute on that design. You know,
That
because they're
and you say those things like they're simple and
well, no,
everyone
that's what I'm
possesses them.
saying. They're not, and that's the thing. Like, lots of people have great design ideas, lots of people have craftsmanship, but it marrying those two things, the technical skills along with the vision, the design vision, it's not easy. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
So we'll just skip this one.
Oh my gosh. What? And
And
so,
it's like something like this is what I want to show someone when they say like machine quilting isn't, art, or it's not as good as hand, or it's not like, okay,
this
then
is
you
just
do this.
rendering me speechless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So this is Margaret Solomon Gunn, Gorham, New Hampshire, Maine, from the brides. Oh my God, how do you say that word? Trousseau?
Trousseau's. Yeah, trousseau. Yeah.
2015 whole cloth silk machine quilted. This is an original symmetrical whole cloth quilt. It is made of ivory Kaufman silk radiance fabric and is stitched with silk threads in shades of green, blue, gold, and ivory. It has a scalloped serpentine binding. Collection of the
It's
artist.
so funny when people like you see something that just like knocks you on the floor in its, beauty and intricacy. And then there's just this kind of like meh description of it.
Yep,
The artist is like, "Oh, this whole thing."
yeah. She's like, here's this thing. It's made with this thing, and it has a thing. The end.
Yeah, she made out of silk with some different colored threads. Wow. Oh, and look how like lustrous that fabric is. I'm not familiar with Kaufman silk. I've worked with, I've made a number of garments out of Kaufman's linen. They're different linen products, but I didn't know that they had a silk one.
Look at
Um,
this like stippling
it doesn't
thing
even
going
look like
on.
fabric anymore. It's got like almost like a stone, or I don't know, something, some sort of textured surface. It doesn't even look like sewing right in there. Wow.
Right?
I mean, it looks like
Like
this looks like you're looking up at the ceiling of like,
the Sistine
some kind of
Chapel.
some yeah, like some kind of like some kind of cathedral or some kind of like grand ballroom. And I've
Yeah.
seen those plaster, that like really intricate plaster stuff. Gosh, that's what it looks like. Wow.
Hmm. And then like the fact that she used different color thread like
Mm-hmm.
changes the color of the fabric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I know a few quilters that work like that. They use like a, like it's generally white, like an all white fabric that I think showcases the colors best, or black. But yeah, an all white, and then you introduce the color, and it just changes the dimensions of the quilt.
hmm.
It's such an interesting, it's almost like watercolor. It ends up, from a distance, it's got like this very subtle wash on it.
And everything just looks like utter perfection. Like I feel like it wouldn't be easy to make these consistent circles like roughly like the same size and shape,
Yeah,
and because I'd
yeah.
also be bored out of my mind having to make that many circles. So
Well, and
bless the heart of anyone that can.
the interesting thing about circles, because I have done a long arming class, whenever you do circles or pebbles, sometimes when they're different, they're kind of crammed in there with different shapes. They're called pebbles, but you do kind of have to cross back over yourself. But you have to do it in a certain way so that you can get on to the next one. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because like if you just were to do like a figure eight, that would give you two. You could do two perfect circles that way. But then how do you go to the next one? Like you got to have a way out to go to the next one.
Hmm.
And I mean, yeah,
Let's see. Can we
speechless.
hold on? Let's see if I get
Yeah, what
close
are
enough.
those dark spots? Is that looks like a pearl in the middle, like something
Yeah, it
pearly.
looks like a little embellishment.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe they're little, some type of little gem or little
But I was just curious
bead
if
or
we can
something.
really kind of see how she. Yeah, it's done so well. I
Mm-hmm.
can't even really tell like where the crossover on your stitches is. Let's see
Yeah.
here.
Think I can kind of see. Let's see.
Like right here.
Three. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that fourth one down, kind of the outer edge
Hmm.
of it. You could kind of see it looks like sort of two rows of stitching, but gosh, they're so close together. I mean, this is like microscope to look at and find the crossover. Wow.
Now we have this.
Oh, wow.
And I'm pretty sure the reason this quilt is hanging on our glass wall is because they want you to see the back as well. If
Hmm.
I'm sometimes we if not and we're just using the wall, we'll just hang quilts back to back. But I think this might have been one where we want to look at the back. So
Yeah, Kate just mentioned, I'm not sure if this was in response to something we said, but about using ceiling hooks. Um, do you guys do that? Like, do you hang things kind of freestanding if it has like a two-sided situation? Or I can't picture because I haven't been to the museum. I can't picture like what this glass wall situation is.
so you're seeing the back of the wall right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the picture was taken from this other side over here, and then we're on the back. So see how you've got some stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on here. There have been things where if we want to see front to back, we will hang them directly from the ceiling in an open
Gotcha.
space.
Yeah.
But yes, this is Pat Ferguson, North Grovesvenderdale, Connecticut. Zen Nosegay 2012 cotton machine quilted. This whole cloth quilt uses the bones of an old-fashioned nosegay pattern combined with free motion, hand-guided, Zentangle inspired machine quilting or Zen quilting. The brightly colored threads make up the entire design, which is placed against a greenish brown batik on one side and a purple batik on the other side. View this quilt from both sides to see which you like best.
Ooh. Okay. So Kate just clarified. So for free motion, they have these springy hooks. So while you're sewing, you wrestle less. So I'm guessing it's like you're
Oh, this is
suspending.
when you were talking. No, it's when you were talking about
About
wrestling.
wrestling, yeah.
On,
Okay. I was
yeah.
not aware of that.
I have seen some of those contraptions that take some of
Yeah.
the weight off. Yeah.
Interesting. Hmm.
So this is the back. Now, sadly, there's a glare
Yeah, because of the glass.
because taking a photo, but
Oh, I see the nose skates now. I was like, I'm
yep,
not clear on what. Okay.
yep. Hmm. But yeah, pretty much all the detail you're seeing is purely quilting. Like there's no piecing in this
Hmm.
color.
And
And
she's so
then
just like the last one, she's using the colors of the thread
hmm to
with
do the
these
work.
these designs. Yeah.
No, I did. Okay. I did get a couple close. Yeah, like look at like just making this like basket weave like look. Or even like just even making these like all even and what like I would my head would explode. I
Yeah.
would just literally like try to do this stuff. I'd get so frustrated, I'd probably just pass away right there. Like,
So in those orange peel shapes, I guess they're the petals, the sort of the part of the petal where it kind of makes that like ribbon candy shape.
mhm,
That is a very pleasing shape to make when you're long arming because you kind of can get into this like but to make them what they're probably fairly small in this, you know, based on the size I'm looking at, and to structure them so that they fit into that shape
mhm,
versus
mhm,
just doing kind of loopy trying to get them to be the same height.
mhm.
Again, we're looking at some skill here.
Hi, Robin.
Hey,
Yeah,
Robin.
it's the skill is definitely not mine, that's for sure. And then here's a close up of
Hey,
the same
Jan.
area on the front.
Wow.
Hmm. And just it's the same exact thing, but look how different it looks on a different
Mm-hmm.
background.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I think I like
that's
the other side. I think I like the colors on the other side better,
because
but
of the contrast.
well, just the colors appeal to me more than the color on this
Well,
side.
but I was saying like the quilting, the
Mm-hmm.
contrast
It,
better
it
on
is,
this side.
yes, yes.
Yeah. But great way to make yourself a two-sided quilt
Mm-hmm.
with only the same amount of effort as a one-sided one. Then we have this, which was I was like, well, this is a nice simplicity
Mm-hmm.
compared to our last one. Because I was like, well, it's very pleasing to the eye, the gradation,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the uniformity. So Jennifer Sorensen, Rye, New Hampshire, Filled with Love, 2016, cotton machine pieced and quilted. This quilt took 2 years to complete. I designed the paper pieced block and originally posted it as part of the Boston Modern Quilt Guild Block of the Month. Using the block, it's designed Using the block is designed the quilt as a way. I'm not sure if is that written weird, or is it
I think
me?
it should be I designed the quilt in a way as a way to play with product
Okay.
value. Yeah, I think it was a
Okay.
typo.
Yeah. It was machine quilted on my long arm and required numerous thread changes to ensure the color was front and center and the thread didn't contrast with the fabric.
You know, Druid, I don't think I said hi to you earlier. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, Druid, I didn't see you either. My tumble turd lover goddess. It's
I feel like
interesting, like,
I feel like I've seen if it's not this particular quilt, I feel like I've seen a quilt similar to this at QuiltCon. I mean, this is modern quilting at
well,
its
if it
best.
was if it was part of Boston Modern, I don't see why it wouldn't be. It's
Mhm.
interesting how like as the quilting gets closer in the center here, it looks like there's I know there isn't, but it looks like there's like circular quilting going on as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, the way
I
it
wonder
bends the fabric in.
she didn't say did she say is this ruler work? It doesn't say. Yeah, it looks like ruler work to me.
Mhm.
Because like how on earth could you keep everything straight like that without a ruler? I feel like. Then we have this.
Ooh.
Love me some plaid. And I was like, this is like a new, a modern take on like crazy quilt piecing. Here, this one's yours.
Okay. Rodka Donnell. I feel like I've seen her stuff before.
You have
So
seen her stuff. Mary did a show about her, I think.
okay. Rodka Donnell, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Demeter's Return, 1986. Cotton and synthetics. Let's see. Oh, machine quilted by Claire Milka or Ruth Alex. So Rodka designed the rigid quilting for her quilt as a feminist statement, wishing to show women that they do not have to be governed by convention, but should seek alternate ways of accomplishing tasks. That's pretty deep.
Hmm.
Here, traditional quilting by hand, a time consuming task, has been supplanted by the time saving technology of long arm machine pantograph quilting, which I guess at that time period, that was what was
Hmm.
popular, or I guess more common. According to Radka, women are then free to pursue better, more interesting activities. At the time this quilt was finished, commercial quilters, think mattress makers, performed most long arm quilting. Demeter's return commemorates Miss Donnell's return to the United States from Switzerland to be reunited with her daughters. The theme is based on the Greek myth in which a mother, separated from her daughters by a body of water, is reunited with them only after many trials and tribulations. Oh, so this is out of your museum's collection.
Hmm. And it's interesting because there's
A
like
button.
shirt pieces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could tell that these are all shirt pieces, but that's literally a buttonhole.
And like she's just like some of this is like just added like just whip stitching. Um, it's very and you know me, I love me some plaids.
hmm those are really striking together.
Mm-hmm. Did I get another? Yeah. I was gonna say I must have gotten some of that in like embellishment.
That's very cool. I
Yeah.
like this one.
Yeah, let me go back to
Not that I don't like the others, but this one really speaks to me.
You're allowed to have favorites. You're allowed. It's allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, Druid, we apologized at the top of the show. We probably confused everybody by starting at 7 today. So I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, that's and we also mentioned about how like some things aren't notifying as well as other things are
Yeah,
notifying.
YouTube has been a little bit of a turd lately, I guess. Or
Yeah.
always. I don't know.
Then we have this, which of course, those of us that love
This is
old
an
quilts
old
are
stir.
yep. And the color, I really enjoy the colors on
hmm
this.
And I like the fact that
And
there's the big one in the middle,
mhm,
and then you have, well, I guess there's it seems like there's like four that are
it
specifically
does
colored kind
seem
of darker. Yeah,
it
to
seems like
set
they're
them off.
bigger, but they're not. It's just the way that they're
Well, no,
colored.
not
Yeah.
bigger, but just darker. Like the colors are different. Like they
Mhm.
have no white in them, so they
Yes,
pop out.
Druid. Drew just said YouTube is definitely not notifying. Yes, I have noticed that. I have heard some people say that like if you go into whatever account you're following and you hit the notification bell and then unhit it and then hit it again, that like it will kind of like re-up for you, like turning it off and turning it back on. That's what I've heard.
Should have to do
I
that.
don't know.
I say
I
to
know
my
you
second
shouldn't.
camera.
Yeah. Yeah, it's obnoxious, but I noticed that myself because I wasn't getting some notifications.
Well, we
So.
just keep you guys on your toes, like Robin is saying, either an hour too early or an hour too late. I mean, what would you guys do if we were like not tricking you constantly?
Well, you know what? Since y'all are here, are you telling us that maybe like going into 2025, should we make all of our Tuesday nights 7 p.m. whether we're reading or not?
Yeah, let us know if you guys have a preference.
I feel like sometimes doing it 8 just gives everyone just a little extra time to do some reading after dinner, but I'm not so beholden to 8 that I wouldn't consider just doing 7 no matter what.
Yeah, and Cake does love to start a little earlier, as not, you know. I'm a middle of the day person. I'm not so good in the morning, not so
Well,
good in
the
the
other
evening.
reason we had originally done 8 too is for our friends on the West Coast, where it was a little bit later for them.
Yeah.
But anywho, here we've got our Maker Unknown collected in New Hampshire circa 1870. I like me some 1870. Hand and machine pieced and quilted cotton. And then let's see. Oh, this is Pam. I walked right past this sweet double pink quilt in an antique shop in Chichester, New Hampshire. I know which shop she's talking about. But then noticed the machine quilting in the borders and decided to purchase it for this exhibition. I didn't know that. Keep in mind, I really try not to read these when I'm taking pictures so that I explore with you. The maker hand quilted the patchwork area and then chose to finish the quilting with her sewing machine in a nice cable pattern in the borders. Honestly, it looks like she didn't mark it before quilting it. And it's not evenly done. The fabrics range in date from the Prussian blue fabrics 1840s in two of the blocks, right-hand column, 7 blocks from the top, to the distinctive brown prints that have a light blue background. These prints are called chocolates and are a strong clue for the 1870s when they were popular for everyday dresses. I really like this placard.
Yeah. I've just
I
learned
think
something.
Yes, I think I'm gonna actually have to tell Pam that I thoroughly enjoy a placard like this, especially with the little tips in the bottom for dating. I think that's fantastic. So I try not to pay attention when I'm taking the pictures if it's something we're going to look at together because I want to be surprised with you. I would not have immediately thought that the cable in the borders here was machine quilted. Because from
Yeah.
here
So,
it doesn't appear to be to me.
no, and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't appear to be perfect. I mean, I can see some kind of wonkiness, but
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely some
I would
wonkiness.
not have
Let's
immediately assumed that was
Oh,
okay. I
yes.
really see some wonkiness now, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that. Well, it's pretty much obvious. That's machine.
Yes.
I kind of don't see hand quilting kind of doing that. You know, you could
Yeah.
see that like
I don't
wobble.
know that I've seen lots of hand quilting that like makes like an elbow. Yeah. And
Oh my
then
gosh,
I
Druid just said she toggled the notification button excessively and immediately received the notification from 6 days ago and tonight. Ah,
Oh, see?
boo, YouTube, boo.
Yeah, see, I told you. I feel like it happens when they do updates. Like they haven't figured out how to carry everyone with them when
Mm-hmm.
they're doing updates because I did get some like email notifications from the back end about some updates they've done. So yeah, so maybe I need to pay more attention to those and just remind people, toggle that bell, everybody. Doom sanctuary. Anyhow. I loved the fabrics in
Yeah,
this.
I'm partial to that double pink. That double pink
Yeah.
is so ubiquitous. I think it's probably an Ely Walker um, But yeah, it's
And then
very
here we have more, it's one of those like the machine quilting is kind of like so horrendous that I love it. And that's probably what Pam was
yeah.
feeling when
I'm
she
looking
saw
at it
this.
now and I'm going, oh, oh yeah. But still, three thumbs up to her for doing this because I don't know if you guys remember, for those of you that have tuned into my stream, back when I was reading Florence Pito's books, she talked about, and I think it's in her first book, where she talks about the first machine quilted quilt that was quilted on Long Island, and it was literally scandalous that how dare this crazy woman not only piece a quilt, or I think she appliqued, it was applique because it was the lobster, that weird
Hmm.
lobstery looking thing.
Hmm.
And they said that, not only did she dare to applique this quilt on a machine, but that she quilted it with the machine, and it was horribly done. And it's
Oh.
like she was just, she was just making a better situation for herself. So,
Hmm.
you know.
Mm. Speaking of a better situation, isn't this bananas?
Ooh, that's very cool to go from white to black and then have that color gradation throughout.
Yeah, lots of gradation going on in this exhibit. But like look at this like perfection of this like border here. Like, ugh, what are these people doing to me?
Yeah, those are pretty darn perfect looking.
And it's funny, this applique pattern is so simple.
Hmm.
It's definitely like based off of like an older pattern that we see all the time.
Yeah, but then add
Um
in that quilting. Oh my gosh.
hmm And then even this isn't all even all white up here. We got like white and then kind of an off what like an ivory and then like an off,
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot. So Karen McTavish, Duluth, Minnesota, gray applique, driftwood, silver, and bone, 2023. Hand-woven silk fabric and silk thread dyed with bamboo stalks.
The bamboo again.
Yeah, hand appliqued, machine pieced, and quilted. In the words of the artist, traditionally hand applique quilts are colorful, yet creating a grayscale quilt during northern Minnesota's dead winter felt right. In the winter of 2023, with over 138 inches of snow, our friends in Minnesota did mention that last year, set a
Hmm.
new state record. This quilt, crafted in the historic epoch, mirrors the monochromatic beauty of the landscape. Each stitch reflects resilience against the relentless snow, embodying the quiet elegance of winter. It's a testament to northern Minnesota finding serenity and beauty amidst the season's extremes in the collection of the artist. And then
138 inches. Oh, gosh.
meanwhile, we got like nothing. And then like I love this quilting in the blah, 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 the sashing here that looks like
Hmm.
rope. Like, and
Yeah.
even the way that she like made it cross over, that it still like blends.
I mean, historically, we see people doing hand quilting that get to a join like that and just
Hmm.
kind of fudge it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those like something super simple with something not so, because I mean just like all this background work, you
Hmm.
know. Phew.
And I like how she didn't do anything with the applique. It just
Hmm.
stands out on its own. And I
Hmm.
think that was a really smart decision.
Hmm. I love this like juxtaposition of the super dark with the super light.
Hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh,
There's just stuff all over the place.
that's striking.
It's very striking, especially on that like bright white background. And I mean,
Yeah.
good Lord, just all of that applique. That is some really busy applique.
Hmm.
That would take me like a decade.
I love applique, but yeah, really dense stuff like that is daunting. Although I have met some quilters, who have a game plan and they can actually applique really fast. Um,
Like by hand?
yeah.
Well, oh, it's by the
Ah,
same
it's another Karen
person.
McTavish, yeah.
Hmm.
And cherry wood.
This one's Flower Basket Cherrywood Applique Suddenly with Petals Blooming 2024. Oh my goodness, this
This
is
is a
the
brand new
same
quilt.
year.
Yeah, it's a brand new quilt.
Cotton hand applique machine pieced and quilted. This hand applique block of the month
Oh,
was slightly modified to include my favorite flowers. Original quilting designs were drawn on paper and marked on the quilt using a light box. Fabrics from Cherrywood Fabrics they're from Bernard, Minnesota.
Brainerd.
Brainerd. That's a terrible name. Um,
Isn't there a Brainerd, Massachusetts?
is
I
there?
don't.
If there is, I've
I
never
think there
heard of
is.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. Oh, you can watch the making of this quilt. That's very
Oh, so
interesting.
McTavishQuilting.com/blooming. Perhaps we could watch that sometime.
Yeah, you need to make a note like right now because you're not going to come back into this video and find that. I'll give you just a second.
As if you don't have the picture that we could
I'm not going to remember. Are you? I'm not going to remember. You're not going to remember. Yeah, I really like these colors together, which I have to say I don't often see these colors together in an applique quilt. I feel like a lot of people uh, don't pick a palette as dark as this,
mm-hmm.
but that quilting, like, it's almost like it would be like if you put an actual, let's like say right here, this wreath, like you were hanging it on wallpaper. That's
Mm-hmm.
how, like,
Yeah, actually
involved.
I have ironically, I actually have wallpaper that I am looking at right now that looks almost identical to that. No, I mean not identical, but it's very similar. Um, it's kind of got like a cable with that sort of four-pointed fleur-de-lis sort of thing. It's anaglypta wallpaper, which is embossed wallpaper.
Oh, Jan said McTavish is a hoot. I follow her on Instagram.
Oh, cool. I'm trying to think if I follow her. I know her name. I recognize her name.
You know, you probably do, because that just seems like something you would do. Yeah, I really like her work.
Yeah, very cool.
It's very, very stimulating.
Ooh.
Yep, this is very interesting. It reminds me of like the motherboard of a computer.
So Robin says there's a Brainerd Village in Nebraska and a Brainerd in Minnesota. I thought I could have sworn there was one in Massachusetts, but you
There's
being from
Braintree.
Massachusetts, maybe that's what I'm
There's
thinking.
there's a
Braintree.
Braintree,
Maybe that's
Massachusetts.
it. Okay. This is
Um,
interesting. It
it's
reminds
very
me of like a
interesting.
circuit board, but not
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And I'm
I
guessing that this is matchstick quilting. I could be wrong though.
this isn't generally like my particular kind of style of quilt that I gravitate towards, but this particular one, I was just like, wow, that I would enjoy looking at that on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
This one's yours.
So it is. It's called Circuit Board
Circuit
2022.
board.
All right. So Jennifer Sorensen from Rye, New Hampshire. Working in the IT industry, I'm constantly surrounded by images of technology. While designing this block, I started playing around with some flying geese shapes, only to discover that the design resembled a circuit board, or at least that's immediately where my mind went as I continued to iterate on the block. The circuit board idea overtook the geese as the primary focus. The pattern remained just an idea until the Fabric Challenge was announced for QuiltCon 2023. I thought this looked familiar. I did because I didn't go to 2023, but I had the catalog. I knew the challenge fabrics would make a great color palette for this quilt. Circuit board was juried into QuiltCon 2023 and was featured in QuiltCon magazine in 2023. Yeah, I have because I have that. Since QuiltCon, it's won several awards.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
That is
It's
some
that
tiny
tight grid.
quilting.
Yeah, it's that tight little
Mhm.
grid. And that's,
And
that's very common in modern quilts, using either that matchstick quilting or this really tight grid.
and
Um,
she's using colored threads too.
yeah. Oh yeah, I can see that in the white or the off white color.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it gives it so much movement,
Mm-hmm.
which I enjoy because if there's one thing that I don't love about the more modern quilting is all the use of solids.
Mm.
I love print fabric. I love
Yeah.
it. So, the constant use of solid just isn't my jam. And I think that's one reason why I went to QuiltCon in 2023. I don't specifically remember this quilt, but um I that's one reason why when people, I go to quilt shows for the vendors. Like I want to see quilts, sure, but like I want to see vendors that I can only see once a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have to say like in general, I'm really bored with their vendor hall because it's all solid fabrics. Like, and I love me some prints. Then we have this. This was
Ah,
one of my favorite
a
quilts.
really lovely.
And the reason it's one of my favorites is because that, when we're talking about uh these kinds of blocks, why am I having a log cabin?
Mm-hmm.
The center would has traditionally have been red
Mm-hmm.
for the hearth. And this one, many of them are blue, some of them are dark.
Mm-hmm. Their
And I like
choices here, the person's choices here, give the block like a sense of dimension. Like it's either
hmm
like an internal bevel or an external bevel. They look like they're receding and popping out.
hmm Oh,
Oh,
it's your favorite. It's Diane again.
Diane Godinsky from Waukesha, Wisconsin. Ah, so this is Through a Glass Darkly. This is the one that she was referenced in her other little piece, um,
Okay.
An American Memory 2001. So cherrywood cottons. Diana endowed this quilt with multiple layers of meaning. She first chose the humble log cabin pattern to evoke memories of the American heritage and all that quilting means to her. She quilted it using a variety of traditional and original patterns to give the feeling of folk art. Among them are Welsh spiral motifs placed in the border to symbolize that life's eternal cycles, and a rabbit designed by Gina Kimball. So there's that rabbit again. She
hmm
wishes us to also view the quilt from a distance to see what looks like light passing through a dark stained glass window to illustrate the light filtering through the dark times. Although not originally made as a quilt to commemorate the tragedy of September 11th, it has taken on a new meaning for Godinsky. The light shining through is our American spirit, the spirit of those pioneer women quilt makers who came before us, and the spirit of the country today that will take us forward through times to come. 2001. No. Girl, what do you think now?
So yeah, I don't normally like immediately go back to standing far away, but yeah, I could see some stained glass kind of
Mm-hmm.
esque vibes. I also have to say, like, I enjoy the brown border on this
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's often a color you're not usually seeing in a border when people are making log cabin quilts.
Wow, and it's such a big wide border. Like that's kind of unique
hmm
as well.
hmm Yeah, let me get some
This one is pretty
close.
lovely.
Yeah, and look at the quilting. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved what she did with the triangles
Mm-hmm.
on the quilting. Like, I feel like when we're looking at, antique log cabin quilts, there's not generally like a lot of like fancy quilting you see going on, even for those that period standards, because it's hard in a log cabin block to get real fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So the border is where it's at. And like look at all this stuff that she's done. Like look down here. Like she's got these like different stripes of things going on.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm
And
guessing
then
with the log cabin pieces, she's just like stitched in the ditch or something.
yeah, here's our bunny again.
Oh yeah.
She's hiding these little nuggets
That's
of
amazing.
but yeah, once you get into the actual log cabin, there's really not much going on until you get
Oh,
to the
but
center.
the centers do have
hmm
that. Wow. And gosh, it takes on a very different look when you're up close like this, kind of looking at,
hmm
each color of the. the different strips.
It's funny, actually, the way that the light's shining on it, it almost looks like suede.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that it's not, but it kind of gives me those vibes. Then we have this.
Ah, nice little princess feather.
Hmm. And I love, I mean, you tell me, I don't feel like I've often seen them where you have just like this little bit at
The
the,
little sprigs. Like, bloop.
yeah, which I'm guessing the way that this is hung, I would think that this would actually be like the pillow tuck area, or potentially it's the hang off, I
Mm-hmm. The
guess.
foot,
The
yeah.
drape, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we've got another 1870 here. This one is perhaps Greenfield, Indiana. Cotton hand applique machine quilted. The first one we saw machine quilted was what, 1880 something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
1886, and now we're in 1870. This princess feather quilt, created with 4 full images and 2 half images, includes a border of upside down swags. These swags look a bit like rainbows with yellow gold hearts at their ends instead of pots of gold. This arrangement of the swags gives the quilt the nickname Rainbow Princess Feather. Princess Feather was a popular quilt design in the mid 19th century. The design has many additional names, such as Princess Feather and Princess of Wales Feather, leading some to believe that it originated in England. However, research has shown that the design actually appeared first in America, possibly having derived from the plumed shape of the amaranth plant, right? Amaranth, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
commonly known as the Prince's Feather. This quilt was likely made in the 1870s. The quilt has been quilted in an echo pattern, probably on a sewing machine, except for a few of the blue plumes, which have been quilted with blue thread. The rest of the quilt is quilted with white thread. The quilting stitches end at the block edges, indicating that each block was individually quilted and then joined together. There is no known provenance of the quilt beyond that it was acquired out of Greenfield, Indiana.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now this is
Yeah.
significantly nicer looking machine quilting than the last the
Yeah. But
that cable quilting.
it still has that like the machine quilted look to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um
Oh no, it's
and LJ, our dear friend Marie, has mentioned, as I recall, Diane Gadinsky machine quilted that log cabin on a Singer 301,
oh
which I'm terrible
wow.
about the singers and the numbers, but if I
The
know
301
anything
is
about a
the
singer, it's
workhorse machine. It's the big sister to the featherweight, and it's still
gotcha.
well, they're not all, but it still is that sexy black. You can also get them in like the two-tone, like tan and white. I have
Mm-hmm.
both.
Still, we're talking about like your garden variety tabletop machine, right? We're
Hmm.
not talking about like some kind of industrial Janome or Juki that has like a 18-inch throat on it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just if you wanted to sew something on a featherweight like jeans, you'd need to get a 301 because it's a much faster machine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a good one. It's a good one. I like how not faded this Princess Feather is. I feel like a lot of them that we see are like really, really
Well, her
faded.
community was like, "Oh my god, can you imagine she quilted this on a machine? Oh, we cannot even look at it. Don't ever let it see the light of day."
And then I got this nice rainbow here because it was even we even rainbowed in the quilting. Isn't that pretty? I like these colors together too. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of princess feathers that I see are red and green.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to see the gold in there.
Hmm. Well, in this like dark blue thing going on, or like like blue slate grays, whatever, something. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
guess or is it like a green? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
was gonna say it was kind of a bluish green.
It's probably one of those ones that just plays tricks with you depending on the light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was also just like so nice. Like this one was like made and put like in a chest and
Mm-hmm.
left
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure.
Then we have this.
Oh my god.
Right? Isn't there a part of you that's like, okay, calm down, just relax over there, people making this thing.
I keep having to like pick my jaw up from the floor. Oh my gosh. There's so much going on here. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
I'm not even sure what to look at.
Hmm. Yep.
This almost has like a religious quality to it. You know,
That
it's
and it also gives me a feeling far away of like those really insanely ornate rugs.
yep.
Like, and those
Mm.
designs, like especially getting up into some of this over here and coming to like this right here. And I don't know, like maybe that's part of the inspiration.
Yes,
I'm
Robin
not,
has just put into to print what I the noise I made. Ah, dang.
yeah. Yeah, if you've ever felt like an underachiever, now's your chance.
Yeah, I mean each of those like blue shaped things,
Yep.
the yeah, they look like pieces of lace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, get ready to read.
This just hurts my soul. It's so beautiful. Okay. Margaret Solomon Gunn, Gora Main. This is didn't she made one of the other quilts, didn't she?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so this one it has beads and crystals in it. Hand pieced, but machine quilted. Interesting. Could you zoom in a tiny bit?
Hmm.
I started this quilt early in 2020. Oh my gosh! Before the pandemic broke, it is made from over a dozen shades of blues and aquas, coupled with a few stock shades of red, green, and champagne. I bought the 8 tatted doilies. Oh, so they are doilies from an online seller in Istanbul. I stumbled upon them when I was looking for small pieces of lace for a different quilt. I immediately bought them, and the quilt's design took off from there. I chose geometric motifs and floral patterns commonly seen in Arabic architecture and Turkish pottery. Okay,
There you go.
yeah, there we
Yep.
go with that rug like design. Yeah. With this design
Hmm.
in mind, I felt forced to make the quilt using semi traditional colors. Most who know me are aware that I don't tend to work much with blue, but this design kept me away from my more comfortable colors and always thinking on my toes. It is all turned edge applique. In fact, the entire top is made by hand. I added a good bit of hand embroidery after the quilt was quilted. Go figure, there was always that feeling that is just not quite complete. I also added some crystals as well as beading on many of the flowers.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it just needed more, right? It just wasn't done. It needed so much more. Like, yeah, like see, she could have put something in the center of these flowers. Like, and then yeah, we got like beading down here and here. This almost looks like an eye, the way that it's shaped.
Yeah, so that's hand tatting and that those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Robin. Yes, I second that emotion. Wow.
Yeah, like you can really see the tatting on the side of
Yeah.
this piece here. But yeah, so what is this looks like beading right here.
Yeah, I think that yeah, it seems like she did add something along some edges and
Like some beading with embroidery thread or something.
mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this stuff is bananas.
This makes me feel bad about myself. All of my pieces I'm like, hmm. Just when I thought I had been like so over the top. No, ma'am. Oh, this is fun. This is interesting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the color on this. It's the orange. I mean, it's picking up pretty well on camera, but it's a little brighter, I feel like in person. Um it's just I
Orange
don't
quilts
know.
make my mouth water. Like I want to bite them.
Okay.
I just feel like they're juicy.
Hmm. All right. I'll say weird things about that later. Here you go. Ethel Shulam, Danvers, Massachusetts. Melon sorbet.
So
There
of
you
course,
go.
yes, it's like ice
Yeah,
cream. Yes.
2004. Cotton machine applicating quilted. The Robert Kaufman Company sponsored several annual national competitions called Quilt Quest. And in 2004, Shalom's Melon Sorbet was selected to tour with the related exhibit. The theme was thinking outside the block and using two fabrics from the new Color Rhythm collection by Jennifer Sampu.
I think it's shampoo,
Uh,
yeah.
we ask that you take your favorite traditional quilt block and give them an exciting new look using color, texture, and fabric to create an original and innovative quilt design. In her original design, Shalom used 10 of the color rhythm fabrics and 54 different variegated cotton threads. Oh my gosh. For the applique and 32 spools of variegated and solid colored threads for the quilting. Does that mean she went through 32 spools?
Yeah.
They have to be small ones, right? They can't be the big ones, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I would assume that they are small. They would have been small spools.
And
Regular size spools.
this is in the collection of the museum.
Wow. So Druid understands. Sometimes you like to bite things.
Is that like cute aggression?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So, oh, I see. She went through all that thread because look at this here.
Mm. Ah, yeah. So she's done. It's almost like a satin stitch kind of.
Yeah, around each block, each like piece.
Mm-hmm.
I see, I see, I see. Yep, that would take a lot of thread. Now we got this. Now, this is very interesting because this quilt is 3D. All the,
Are they little flanges that are
yep,
twisted? Yeah.
everyone that you're seeing stands up, and depending on where you're standing for the quilt, it changes color.
It's like lenticular.
Hmm.
That's
And I
pretty
believe,
neat.
yeah, I did take pictures from either side, which was difficult because this was in one of the small pocket galleries that are pretty tiny. There isn't a whole lot going on in terms of actual quilting. It's more about that movement. So yeah, Carol Breyer Fowler Gentry, Port Townsend, Washington, Reflection 1991. Cotton, hand dyed and painted, machine pieced and quilted. This is one of a series of quilts in which three-dimensional constructed tucks are incorporated into a patterned background. The background fabric was painted with fiber reactive dyes in large flower and leaf patterns. These patterns represent the feeling of being among flowers and looking at them close up. The larger than life flower forms do not represent any particular botanical species. Each of the half-inch tucks were constructed from two different fabrics. The right side of the tucks were made from fabrics dyed in a gradation of values from white to turquoise to black. The left sides of the tucks are a fabric that was painted in shades of green to represent grass and leaves. The use of light to dark gradations and the twisting of the tucks from side to side create the illusion of movement and light across the surface of the quilt. Now, the thing that stinks is like not when she does, we had an exhibit of like just her stuff. When I might have been when I first started working at the museum about 2 years ago, and it was so popular they had to extend her exhibit. It was so bananas. But the thing I really like about her work is I feel like she's often working in series.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I did not like is that you're only seeing one piece
Mm.
from the series. So at least I'm pretty sure it was one piece, but yeah. So if you'll notice, there's really not much going on in terms of like quilting. It's all about this light movement.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are from the right side. And here we are from the left side.
Huh.
And it's
Now,
interesting because
you need to
notice
go
her
back and
tucks.
forth really fast between them so we could see the that lenticular effect.
And you notice too, her tucks they're not folded the same way all the way down. Because like this right here, it's flatter and then it
Hmm.
opens.
That's really interesting. I love that.
Yeah. And then let me just show the front again. Yeah, she's very innovative.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, it's really interesting quilt to look at just from the front of it, and
Hmm.
then to incorporate the fact that it's got that sort of changing look because
Yeah,
of
like
those
if
little.
you owned this as a piece of art and you had it hanging in a hallway that got light that you would walk up and down,
Hmm.
like your entrance hallway or something, and you'd constantly be looking at it from different perspectives. That's where I would hang that. Oh, I did get up close to see some tuckage.
Yeah, I see what she's done there.
Yeah, it must have been really obnoxious to get these to stay that way. Like however which way she,
Well,
commands them to.
yeah. I mean, my guess is she probably sewed the whole thing and then started doing flipping those pieces back and forth. That would be my guess. That's the way I would do it.
Mhm.
Oh, this one's fun.
Yeah, we go back to something a little more historic. So we have con consuction. What is that?
Concussion? Let's just call her
I
Susan. Because I feel like it should be like concepcion or that's a weird word. Concussion.
All right, one of you gals in the chat, you must know what that's supposed to be. Because I feel like y'all usually do. But her name's Susan Adair, 1836 to 1919, Golden and Erie, Colorado, Coxcomb, 1859. So wait, we've got 1859, but also 1917. So I'm guessing we've started and finished later. Cotton hand applique machine quilted. According to a note attached to this quilt, in 1859, Susan first appliqued the center blocks and then quilted them with one of the first house sewing machines to come to Colorado.
Wow.
She sewed the fan shapes in straight lines freehand with no visible advance markings.
Hmm.
Using the quilt as you go technique, Susan first assembled the finished blocks in pairs and then in two groups of three sets of pairs to form two halves. Finally, the two halves were joined to form the center of the quilt. There we go. In 1917, she decided to add three borders, one of solid color strips and two of solid white to the quilt. For more information about this, see this essay in Blanket Statements issues 153 and that in spring 2022, and that is put out by American Quilt Study Group if you are
You're
looking for
breaking up,
that.
by the way, a little bit. Just as a
Am I?
heads up. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And just as
Hmm.
a time check, you do realize it is almost 8:45.
Oh, yeah. I told you we wouldn't be playing around here in terms
No.
of this, but yeah, this is really this is really delightful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, she's got there's a lot of creativity going on here. There's also some chunky areas that don't seem to have any quilting at all. So,
Yep, yep,
seems like she
okay.
just had some fun.
Well, I mean, if it was the first house sewing machine, and I mean, she did add some stuff into the applique.
Yeah, this is
Um,
not long after, I mean, machines really became commercially available for
hmm
households. I mean,
hmm
what was it, like 1840, I think was when, they sort of arrive on the scene, but you've got like patent stuff going on and, people are
Oh
not,
yeah, you got time before they can become available to the
yeah,
average person.
people are just not buying them at this, necessarily at this point. And it really isn't until after the Civil War, I think, that they became kind of like, that people actually bought machines to have at home.
Yeah, I really like this like blue, yellow, and red here.
Hmm.
That's pretty. Or at least I'm assuming, well, Since we're green, I'm wondering if that was originally blue or not.
So Robin says concussion could mean concussion or Derico.
Yeah, it's gotta be some kind of
I
prefix.
like concussion. We're just call her concussion season. Oh, this is cool.
I,
Um,
I I can tell that we are nearing the end based on
okay.
this quote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested to see who made this because I have a couple of guesses.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
probably
Let's
totally
see.
wrong, but knowing what people's yes. I thought to myself, this is either Carson Converse or Daisy, and I can never remember how to pronounce her last name, but yep, Carson. So I guess I will
Oh,
read this one. Is it my turn?
sure.
So Carson Converse, who's a very talented modern quilter, Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, Double Arc 2022, whole cloth quilt wool. I didn't know she was working with wool. Sometimes the things I am most proud of are the things that you don't see, that don't exist. The irony of minimalism is how much work is required to maintain simplicity. And I think that probably that sums up what her work is like.
Hmm. Yeah, this is very interesting because it's really just like all about the quilting and what the
Hmm.
quilting is creating.
Yeah, and the thing is about her work is it's very simple. In fact, like she's got quilts that are like literally like a black quilt with gray or white thread, and it'll it's just parallel lines, and then there might be an area of the quilt where the line changes. you know
Mm-hmm.
but the precision in her quilting, I mean, you
Mm.
could take a ruler and every single one of those grids, every single one of those lines are going to be perfect.
I mean, I was gonna say it's gotta probably be ruler work.
Hmm. Yeah, her work
Um,
is um really
yeah, I
striking. And I mean, the whole thing about simplicity is like, yeah, you can do simplicity, but sometimes getting it right, getting it like really, 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 um yeah. What stitch is she using? I mean,
it just looks like a plain straight stitch.
yeah, it's just a plain straight tight stitch. But what's interesting? What I just realized, I think, is that grid, the the vertical lines are different thread than the horizontal lines.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like she might have changed the spacing a little bit.
Hmm.
It looks like these ones have a little more spacing than these ones.
Yeah, but it's wool, so lovely. Oh wow, this is it's
This is
another one of
involved.
those.
Yeah,
Oh my
this
gosh, look at
one's
the border. Ah!
yeah, this one's involved. And look at like
Oh,
just
those are urns. Oh my goodness,
And yeah, that border, it
this
looks
stuff
like
just
rope.
slays me.
Mm-hmm.
Deborah Wagner.
Last
I Isn't she an AQSG member? I feel like I
she
know
might
her.
be. And I believe she
Oh,
had some things in this exhibit
she had
too.
another quilt. Yeah, Cosmos,
Yeah.
Minnesota. Yeah. I can read this one if you'd like.
Okay.
Ohio Bride's Quilt. Wagner examined 5 quilts made from this pattern in Ohio in the 1850s. Oh! And redrafted the piecing patterns and the traditional quilting patterns for her interpretation of the design for this quilt. Trapunto is the art of stuffing quilted sections to add dimension. She used her sewing machine to outline the areas to be stuffed, opened the fabric from the back with an awl, and then used an adapted machine that was made for stuffing toy animals to fill each area. What? She then closed the hole by hand and stated in an interview that this method that she developed allowed her to work very quickly. Well, yeah. That's crazy though. I mean, I those things that fill, I mean, like Build a Bear, you
Mm-hmm.
like stick the
Mm-hmm.
hole on like a little thing and it shoots the stuffing in there.
Yeah.
To me that would seem like,
Well, and
oh my
she
gosh, I'd accidentally like hit the accelerator too hard and my quilt would explode.
well,
Wow.
I can see how that got her the ability to work really quickly because there's a lot of stuff here. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh my
look at
gosh, this is just, I mean, all of these that have this intricate stippling
mm,
and the trapunto are just,
just huh. They're just.
You keep breaking up.
That's so weird. I have full internet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, there was really a little bit of everything in this exhibit.
yeah, this is very modern.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet this looks like some matchstick quilting. And then there's some interesting shapes going on in those triangles. It's almost, they almost look like spirograph. Like it kind of
Mm-hmm.
like does that fractal sort of thing.
Yep.
And Jan said that's insane. Yeah. Oh, this is Jennifer Sorensen.
Mm-hmm.
House of the Incas. Well,
Cotton machine pieced and quilted while visiting Machu Picchu in 2015 to celebrate receiving my MBA. I intentionally photographed and framed land and the famed landmark with a different lens to gain inspiration for quilts. This one shot of the village where the Incas lived stuck with me. Starting with this image of these homes, I saw triangles and squares and designed a long string of shapes. I then rotated the sketch 3 times around a center point to create this final design. Once I had my rough sketch, I transferred the design to freezer paper and pieced the quilt. House of the Incas won second place. Oh,
oh,
when?
it's such a reminder. No, that's really yeah, and that's an interesting. I like to hear how people design things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, certainly their inspiration is always really intriguing, but I think what's more interesting to me is where they take that whatever that design is, and then explain how they either replicate it or change it, and so taking something and then like rotating it is one way that bring any kind of movement and dimension to visual artwork.
Yeah, so she said she started with the center and then just kept moving around.
Yeah, and then she just
Hmm.
spun it.
I mean, when you think about it, the fact that we know that she's using it, this does kind of look like village life, kind of
Mm-hmm.
the way things would be planned, with like
Mm-hmm.
little roadways and things.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually I'm not to say I don't like modern quilts. That would be very wrong to say, but I think some modern quilts I look and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I maybe wouldn't necessarily want to hang that in my house but this one I really like this one. This one's got that kind of oh my god, what?
I
It's like
think I think this might be the second to last one because
we
this was
get to
hanging.
we get to rest our eyes for a minute and then this.
No
Wow,
rest for the wicked.
wow. There's a lot going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Now, okay, so in the center, the quilting designs are contained within the shapes, but in those corners and I guess kind of in the border too, you've got the quilting just covers like just goes right over those piecing that that piecing.
There's even this like quilting that's like yellow brick road.
Yeah.
Like it looks like an actual like road.
Yeah, and that's
Cobblestone.
pebbles. I think that's what they call pebbles because
Hmm.
they're little units, but they're all different. Robin
Mm-hmm.
says this is another damn. Yes, this is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. This
And look at
oh,
this.
the
Look
border
at
tree.
that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Not
Like
the
it's
border,
like, you
the
know
the
what?
binding.
Prairie points weren't hard enough for me. We need to make that harder. Let's see if I can. Yeah, because
If
there's
this
even like
was
quilting in it.
a different color, if this was in blues and greens, it would give me like a very underwater feel.
Mm.
But because it's purples and pinks, I don't know what to make of it. Like it's lovely though. I mean, it's so much going on. Wow.
Yep, and we've seen her before.
Yeah, yep. Ultra
So we've got
suede. Okay.
ultra suede.
Yeah. All right, I'll
Hmm.
read this one. Margaret Solomon Gunn, Gorham, Maine. The Value of Violet. Okay. So cotton, silk, and ultra suede. This original two-color quilt. Two-color? Oh, I guess she's saying it's what, purple and what? Two-color quilt creates harmony and movement solely through the use of value. All applique is turned edge and hand stitched. Edges of the central pumpkin seed appliques are also hand embroidered. Tiny fuchsia berries are punched ultra suede, hand stitched to the quilt. There's a cutaway trapunto on the outermost border, as well as central dark purple diamond. A first for me. Scallops were quilted on a long arm machine, then finished on the domestic machine. Scallops on this quilt were also edged with a silk piping. My gosh, Margaret, like quilting sought to create an Asian zen, like, okay, yes, it does. It has like a kind of an Asian feel to it.
Hmm.
Since the applique reminded me of a Japanese garden I've used to visit in San Francisco. A meandering stone path, you're right, it is a stone path, was quilted through the floral applique. Quilting on the pieced diamond corners sought to repeat the floral design used on the appliques, as well as the clamshells, a derivative of the pumpkin seed pattern. The quilt is embellished with hand-couched pearl cotton embroidery thread, tiny crystals, and Swarovski pearls. Woo! You know, Margaret
What?
is a woman after my own heart. She's like, more is more. What else
Hmm.
can I add here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, she was like, you know what? This like Prairie Point, like there's not enough going on here on this treatment, so we need to add a Swarovski pearl there.
Truett said at least she didn't go overboard or anything. Um, so is that like, so over on the right hand side, like that's the wall, right? And
Yes.
that dark
Hmm.
shape, that's the shadow of
Yep.
the binding. Wow.
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
she was like, we need more is more. So make sure you hang this in a way that it creates a secondary thing in the shadow on the wall.
Right. Yeah, so that you're right. That is like a little yellow brick road or a little
Mhm.
path. It's not pebbles. They're little squares or little
And then so
rectangles.
this is the ultra suede.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
And then look, she even was like, you know what? I need a little pipe here.
And the best part when she said that the threads are couched. So not just stitched with the thread, but taking a piece of thread and then using a different piece of thread to couch it down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a lot. In case you were getting sick of seeing this center.
I mean, it was hers the one earlier that I said kind of reminded me of like the plaster, a ceiling.
Maybe.
I feel like that was probably hers too, because this kind of gives me that same feel
Hmm.
to it.
You can rest your eyes here.
This boring ass basket.
Yeah, you can rest your eyes now on this like simple green basket because it's just nice and wholesome.
I do like what they did here, though. Oh, and we know who made this too.
Yeah, you go ahead and read since you said I'm getting shaky.
Okay. Delia Birdsey Crocker, Meridian, Connecticut. Basket quilt circa 1850. Cotton. Needleworkers quickly adopted the sewing machine for use in making quilts, as in this example with its machine appliqued basket handles and machine applied binding. The paper label on the front of this quilt reads, "For John R. Reese, bed quilt made by Delia Birdsey Crocker, born 1812, sister of Eli Birdsey, Squire, gift of Lillian Birdsey Frost." Delia Birdsey Crocker, 1812 to 1862, of Meridian, Connecticut, was the donor's great great grandfather's sister. There are 10 quilts in the collection of the New England Quilt Museum made by several generations of the Reese family. Very
Wow,
cool.
10?
Yeah, very
10 from
cool.
the same family? I feel like
Yeah.
that's not common.
Now, this is interesting because the machine applique handles, this
And
is something I've seen before. And I'm
mm-hmm.
assuming you probably have too. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think people tend to date them much later because
Mm-hmm.
I certainly would. I would not have guessed 1850 because, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, sewing machines were like pretty much brand new.
Mm-hmm. And people seem to think that, like, why would you, if you're gonna do everything else by hand, why would you do that by machine? It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot easier than hand appliquing and the curve piecing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is a feathered star that was it was sitting in a case right in front of that quilt. And it's not super easy because of the glare.
You can see the baskets reflected.
Hmm. You wanted to give this one a go.
All right, Ellen Eastman Wilson, Illinois. Jackson Star, 1862. The note pinned to the bottom corner of this quilt states that Ellen Eastman Wilson made it in 1862 while the Civil War was raging. She was 17 years old and teaching at a country school in Lynn County, Illinois, where she passed her wartime recesses by hand piecing this quilt. The note calls the pattern the Jackson Star, probably in tribute to Andrew Jackson. The Illinois Quilt Project uncovered another quilt with Jackson Star pieced into the design, confirming the name for this block. Today, the pattern is more commonly known as the feathered star. The quilt was once more vibrant, as the stars and larger triangles in each block were once a bright purple. To finish her expertly pieced work, Ellen or someone else in the community machine quilted it. The uneven parallel lines and floral motifs are a testament to the difficulty of using early sewing machines for quilting. No poops. Particularly with models operated by a hand wheel rather than a foot treadle. So we're talking about potentially hand crank.
Hand cranks.
Yeah. Wow.
Let me
And
see. Yeah,
so
so I did get
the
it.
purple would have been like the points of the
Hmm.
star, not the feathers. Yeah, and it's faded kind
Hmm.
of to like a brownish
Yeah.
purpley.
I actually thought though that they didn't do half bad
Yeah.
here on these loops,
Yeah, not too
which that
shabby,
would have been
honestly.
more difficult to do.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Definitely not too shabby. I mean that's the beginnings of feathers. You know what? I bet they were like, I'm gonna quilt some feathers, and they were like, oh crap, no, I'm not. Let's just make this. Okay, we're just gonna make this
Well, and this one maybe down here they're like, okay, I guess it's a balloon. No, I guess we'll make it into some leaves and a vine.
a balloon bouquet. Yeah. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Man, I just kept going and going and going here. Yeah, this one was just like, this one makes me feel cozy.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, nice like trip around the world. And then I loved this sashing they used.
hmm Oh, so this is 1910.
Hmm.
Maker once known. Philadelphia pavement finished circa 1910. The Philadelphia pavement piece design, made with many small squares, is a perfect pattern for showcasing many different fabrics. A one patch, it is also known as sun and shadow, mosaic block, grandma's square. Oh, you know what? It does look like granny squares for
Hmm.
yeah, knitted or crocheted, I mean. And trip around the world. The fabric squares that make the top of this quilt are from the end of the 1800s, as are sashing strips separating the blocks of the quilt. The white backing, pink bias binding, and quilting. Wow, bias binding. That's kind of rare. And quilting were added at a later date. The maker of this quilt used a sewing machine for quilting, although the piecing was done by hand. The many seams that this pattern creates would have made hand quilting difficult. The simple grid quilting used for the quilt would be the quickest way to finish it if one did not want to tie it. Simple quilt designs using squares and grid quilting were popular in this period. Yeah, I feel like nobody used bias binding until, I mean, not to say that there are no quilts with bias binding, don't get me wrong, but bias binding, I think they looked at that as like wasting fabric.
Yeah, and it's funny, they didn't, when they were doing this grid, they didn't like plan it like many others would to go through the
To go through,
center.
yeah.
Yeah. But hey, you got to appreciate that they did it because you know what? I couldn't even do quilting like this on my domestic machine today because I would just kill myself.
I
Like
know, right?
nope, I'm not doing all that wrangling. Thank you.
My guess is they probably their squares weren't very square, and so that it was probably a conscious decision to say like I'm not going to
Hmm.
try to go corner to corner, just going to
Hmm.
make them straight.
And then I grabbed a couple pictures here because we've got an 1860s user manual.
And they're showing that the rolled up quilt going through the Wilson and
Hmm.
or the is it Wilcox and Gibbs.
Yep, Wilcox and Gibbs.
And even that's interesting. The Wilcox and Gibbs has like the top, like whatever you call that
The
top part
curve,
is
the curve there.
curved and not straight. So it does all give you a little bit more room for the rolled up quilt.
Mm-hmm. And you can just, we won't read these, but feel free to pause, here when you watch a replay to read through that.
Oh my god. Quit knocking me on the floor with these. Wow. Is this another one of the people we've already
I
seen?
I feel like this is probably the last one. This quilt was, I'm pretty darn sure, the one that was right at the top of the stairs when you walked up. Um, yeah, we went big or go home here, and look, we've got the elements of those star quilts
Mm-hmm.
that we were seeing a lot of in
And
our last
also
quilt.
looks like strings of beads. Like with are those like little round
These these things here,
appliques? Uh-huh.
these are appliques. I feel like it might be that ultra suede again.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I remember the way that that fabric looked, I think it's that ultra suede. Let's see here.
Ah,
Oh, look.
it's our friend Margaret. I was gonna say this has got to be her, or I guess there's another person that was making these.
Well, I really like the name of this belladonic haze when you think about like the herb belladonna.
Mm-hmm.
All right, have at it, my dear.
Belladonic Haze 2020. Margaret Solomon Gunn, Gorham, Maine. Uh, doesn't look like there is any ultra suede in here. It is all stuffed work and a hand applique. This
Hmm.
is my third Carpenter Star quilt. It is constructed with commercial cotton prints and Kaufman Silk Radiance fabric. I gotta check out this Kaufman Silk Radiance. My signature choices. The setting squares of the Carpenter Star are inspired by the painted dot mosaics of Elspeth McLean. Over 1,000 dots circles made from silk are hand appliqued to the squares to create a kaleidoscope design. The quilting of this piece was started in late 2018 when my dad was ill and spending considerable time in the hospital. I was unmotivated, and as a result, the quilt sat for periods while I was searching for mojo. During this time, I was deep into music from my teen years, which to this day I still love. Hour after hour of Queen songs. I love Queen. Played in my ears as I dealt with my dad's passing. Oh, and completed the quilting. In the outer border, I paid tribute to this passion with the quilted and painted crown and subtle quilting of 35 Queen song titles. The name Belladonic Haze draws from a line in a 1973 song, Keep Yourself Alive, and aptly described my mood during this challenging time.
Yeah.
No, that adds more meaning. Oh my goodness. Is that like
It was, so I know this is a little hazy, but it was so hard to get my camera to focus on this
so
because of everything else going on.
so are
Like,
those like little like the little cords made
yeah,
out of silk? Yeah, they're like little
yeah,
spaghetti straps.
yep,
Oh my gosh. I gotta
yeah.
meet Margaret. Holy moly.
Look at that. Now you can see what I meant where I thought it was like that ultra suede. See that texture it's got?
Yeah, it's the silk though.
Yeah, it
And
looked.
it's stuffed, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, like look at this quilting.
Yeah, and that's, she seems to like that, like, Sashiko kind of, even though she's not the one who said that. Um, was it Diane Godensky? She
Yeah,
was the one
maybe.
who said that she was going after, like, a Sashiko design, but wow. Wow,
Hmm.
wow, wow. These quilters.
I promise I wasn't trying to make you feel bad.
I just, it's one of those things, like, I mean, just knock me over with a feather, when you see this, like, amazing skill and just, her aesthetic is very, very, like, everything, all of the stuff. But
Hmm.
it's so striking. It's so fun to look at.
He is very striking. This is one of those ones where you could look at it for hours and just keep seeing
Yeah,
something new.
see different things. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it was also, it's a very large quilt, so it was difficult to get some of the aspects of it, but it just had like this one random kind of gradation line of colors used in the quilt
Hmm.
up in that border, and I was like, that's weird. We
Yeah.
need to see that.
But in those gray squares, I mean, look at that, the feather. I mean, that seems like that's a really
Mm-hmm.
tight feather. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know what vibe that's giving me, but like I said, it's like a necklace almost with those circles. It's like a jeweled or
And
beaded kind of thing.
that's our last photo. Let me just go back to the whole thing. Yeah. See these like little.
Oh, Robin. Well, there goes what little quilting mojo I had left. Game over.
That's what I mean. I promise I wasn't trying to make you feel bad.
You know, I look at this kind of, I look at quilts like this and I think, okay, this, I liken this to cooking. I'm not a bad cook, but you know, like I made some hoisin glazed meatloaf tonight. It was very good. I will never ever reach like a top chef like Michelin star restaurant level. That's why I look at this like I'm a perfectly adequate quilter. I will never ever be like this, you know. Yowza.
Mm-hmm. And that is where we
Wow.
end our evening.
Wow, you guys. We went way long, but wow, that was wow.
You know, I feel like we need to have like a a brainstorming session, kind of like, so how many quilts can we fit reasonably in about an hour, and then maybe do a part one and a part two.
Oh, so DeMarie says, by the way, my vote is in favor of 7 p.m. all the time. Exceptional presentation. Well, thank you very much. Say thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is our
Um,
pleasure. We love to do this. The rum
yeah,
and made it all
I
quilting.
rushed. Yeah, I rushed to make sure I got these photos before Stephanie and I went on our most recent trip to Pennsylvania because the exhibit was coming down while we were gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, I'm
so I
so
made
glad that we've gotten to see it because I know that Pam, it was actually I think the AQSG Friday Hangout, was this two
Mhm.
weeks ago, and Pam mentioned this exhibit, and you know she had said it came down a little while ago, but that you know it was a I can't remember what she said exactly. I mean, I think she had said that she was really pleased with it. You know that there was
Mhm.
really some dynamite quilts and
Yeah, oh
yeah,
man. She wasn't kidding with some dynamite quilts.
yeah, yeah. So
That
Janet
was
says either time is good. She's a West Coast person.
mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. Druid like 7. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, I'm definitely not opposed to just moving to 7. But then for those that they were like, I can never remember time, don't forget that on the social medias we post a calendar and that has the times on it. So you do want to pay attention because for this week we added a special stream on the 30th. So you want to pay attention. I will put out a reminder so that you don't miss that because guess what? I have a backlog of more exhibits to look at. So,
Yeah, we could probably go on forever. Oh, the calendar didn't say the time.
okay, hold on.
Jillian.
Hold, please. Hold, please.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
Druid. Thanks, Jan. I'm so glad that Jill was able to get those pictures. I'm blown away.
but dun, 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 dun. So let me just, hmm.
Yeah, Robin says,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You mean the calendar I always forget about? Yeah.
yeah. So see how we're color coded down here? And see there's a thing up here that says what time.
Well, I think we can safely say going into, I guess, for the rest of this year and going into
Yep.
2025, I think the people have spoken, the cake has spoken. I think we can safely say you could count on 7 p.m. Eastern time unless there's some
Hmm.
reason why we change it. Now, I will say though, there are our stitch and glitch stuff is going to generally be like afternoons
Hmm.
some of the time, so just keep an eye out for that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So then now, since we're just looking at this, we've added a stream for the 30th that will be at 7 p.m. But yeah, whenever you're looking the colors here always correlate to what's up top here with the times. Alrighty.
well, with that,
I need a
thank you
snack.
guys. Yeah, I I need dessert because I was shoveling dinner in as we were starting. So,
Yeah, she was. I'm trying to yak with her, and she's like, yeah, I need a snack.
yeah. So, you guys, we will see you on Saturday, hopefully. Um, have a happy Thanksgiving if you partake. I know Druid's a curmudgeon about Thanksgiving, and we respect that. So we just hope that Druid has a good Thursday, and everybody else gobble till you wobble.
That
And
was a nice
as
little
I have
answer.
done on my stream, it's the turkey hand sign.
You don't even like turkey.
I really don't, and I found out in a recent poll, a lot of people don't like turkey.
Whatever. I'll, I'll eat yours.
Okay.
Good
All
night,
right,
everybody.
guys. We'll see you soon. Have a great week.